Waiting room?
We do. They're in a listening mode only, so technically not a waiting room anymore, but just a listening mode.
Oh, yeah.
And I am pulling in everybody that needs to come in. Heather Thomas, our speaker tonight, guest business, has just joined us, and we're live streaming on YouTube right now.
Okay.
A couple minutes to hit the record button. I don't see Steve or Marcus yet. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Here comes Marcus.
And Kelly, do you want me to share my screen, or are you going to pull up the slides?
Yeah, would that work for you? Or do you want to do it the other way?
Whichever you prefer is totally fine.
Okay. I am going to let you share just since you'll kind of know when to switch slides.
Okay.
Okay. And we have about 15 or 20 minutes for your update, Heather. Does that work? Great. Marcus.
Hi. This evening.
All right, there's Steve in the waiting room.
Yep, he's coming over. Let's see, I'm gonna bring the chief over. I think we've got everybody. Everybody else can stay in the listening mode.
Now we're missing Sean.
Oh, we are missing Sean. Sean told me he was going out of town. That's not this week, is it?
No, it's
Okay.
in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing him yet.
Okay. I'll give him a couple seconds here.
Oh,
There he is.
here he is. All right, I'm going to hit the record button. Mayor, we are good to go.
All right, perfect. All right, so this is Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. This is going to be a Lake Stevens City Council regular meeting, and this meeting is going to be via Zoom. It's also live streamed on YouTube and can be found on YouTube at our channel, Lake Stevens channel, to look at after the meeting. So with that, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty and
justice for all.
All right, perfect. Good stuff. Kelly, can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Daughtry.
Here.
Councilmember Peter Shaken.
Here.
Councilmember Frederick. We still have.
Here.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Councilmember Dickinson.
Here,
Councilmember Jorstad. Here. Councilmember Ewing.
Present.
Councilmember Tagent.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. Everybody's here. Council President Daughtry, can we get an approval of the agenda?
All right, Council, do you have any changes you wish to make to the agenda?
Move to approve as submitted.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Mayor, the agenda is approved.
Excellent, thank you. So we'll move into citizens' comments. And how we do citizens' comments on Zoom is that we look for a hand raised from those in the gallery, I think is what we call that. And if you wish to speak, Kelly, the city clerk, will bring you into the room and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. We ask you that you state your name and your address, and I'll start a 3-minute timer for you. When you hear the beeper go off, that means you have 10 seconds to wrap it up. So with that, is there anyone who wishes to provide citizens' comment tonight?
All right, we have one hand. Let me bring him in.
Yeah.
His name is Gabe Schmuck.
Is he in?
It just takes a second for him to join. Yep, there he is. Gabe, can you hear us?
You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Let me ask him to unmute.
And you'll need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me?
We
I
can hear
can.
you. Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to talk a little bit about two related items that have to do with speed issues on roadways, starting with the decision to change London Parkway from a 35-mile-an-hour zone into a 25-mile-an-hour zone. To my knowledge, main arterial roads are to be a 35-mile-an-hour zone to reduce traffic congestion, among other things. I don't know the particulars about the incident that happened last year where somebody was hit, but there are only a couple scenarios that I can think of that would lead to this occurring. The first being that somebody was either not paying attention to the road and hit a pedestrian on the sidewalk, or didn't see the flashing lights in the crosswalk there by London Parkway and blew through it. The latter of which the pedestrian would be assuming correctly because people should be paying attention to crosswalks, whether the light was on or not. The second being somebody was jaywalking or crossed the crosswalk without hitting the lights, assuming it was safe. Changing the speed limit will not change the chances that either of the scenarios will happen. It will only change the severity of the injury and odds of a fatality. The related issue, as I stated before, I live up here on Sierra Road, which is a 25-mile-an-hour zone, but the speed limit does not stop people from racing through either direction at speeds in excess of 40 miles an hour, some of which were high schoolers going to and from school or going on a lunch break. I myself have put up a sandwich board out at the end of my driveway with a message and spray paint that says slow down on both sides. My neighbor built a fence around his front yard to protect his kids. They're about 10 and 4. They play in the front yard and he refuses to let them play unsupervised because he doesn't want somebody speeding down the road and either veering off into his driveway and hitting their kids. A few years ago, I talked with the old city engineer, Adam Emerson, and I talked with him about options of either changing the zone to 20 miles an hour or putting in speed bumps, much like the ones down the street on 28th Street Northeast. There was a study done back then, of which I have the results and emails between myself and him. If you guys would like to review them, I can send those down to your office, down to City Hall. But the end result was that the road did not qualify for either a speed change or traffic calming devices. To my understanding, the reasons were largely due to lack of citations and people pulled over, which in my opinion is a bit of a non sequitur, as patrols and station vehicles are almost non-existent on this road. There have been only a couple times where a digital reader board was placed on the road, either on the north side or the south side. I live on 2430 Cedar, so about halfway down, saying that it's a 25-mile zone, and only a couple times where a speeding scanning sign have been placed there as well. While the signs were in place, the amount of people speeding dropped, obviously, but as soon as the signs were removed, then the speeding picked back up again. So instead of being reactive to situations, I think it would be a little bit more a better idea to be proactive. So because in both situations, increased patrols and perhaps stiffer fines might be an idea, especially along residential roads, as well as semi-regular discussions at school assemblies to educate the kids on what the speed limits on this road are. So in closing, I would like to hear your thoughts as well as Chief Dyer's on maybe some increased patrols and maybe setting, I'm not sure if we can set Linden Park back to a 35-mile-an-hour zone or not, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Smuck. So in this platform, we don't answer questions back, but we can get the chief to if you can shoot the chief an email or something, we can address your concerns. I think there's some good valid concerns.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Is there any other folks who would like to have citizens' comments tonight? Please raise your hand. Looking for a hand raised from anybody. Not seeing any.
Nope.
Do you see any, City Clerk?
I do not see any. And just to reiterate again, what the mayor's saying is that we won't know if you want to speak unless you raise your hand.
Correct. And there's nobody waiting in some waiting room somewhere.
No waiting room somewhere.
Okay, perfect. So with that, we will move on to mayor's council business. Council President.
Except I'm muted. Councilmember Tagent. And you're muted. Next is going to be Sean, so stay muted, Sean.
Isn't that the term of the year?
Yeah, 2020. You're muted.
I don't have anything to report. Just city, great job responding to everything that's been going on. Great work. Thank you.
Councilmember Frederick, you're not muted.
I am not muted. I took the hint. I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Ewing, you are muted.
I am unmuted. So I just wanted to thank all the community members who helped to make the second annual James Barnes Memorial Blood Drive a success. Had over 100 participants again this year for the second year in a row, so that's fantastic. Thank you to Bloodworks Northwest for their partnership and for the Barnes family for supporting that. Also, it was in our packet, but Don has done an outstanding job along with others to improve our farmers market from last year, and encouraged to see what's going on for this upcoming contract that we approved in the consent agenda. And wanted to thank Jill Meese, our parks person, for her focus on equity with regards to the summer sports camps. Aware that the Skyhawks are going to have ability for all people to participate, including those with limited incomes. And so I think that's fantastic that she and they have partnered together to make that a focus for our community. And just to thank you to Public Works for their hard work for the snow removal for our snow event that we had over Valentine's Day. Appreciated our streets and other streets in the city were passable because of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Jorstad.
I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Peter Sagan.
Just quickly, continuing our meetings with the city of Everett over the water line issue. We had a productive meeting today, trying to reach some compromise so we can move forward on some things there, but continuing the dialogue with the city of Everett. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dickinson.
Well, yes, I appreciate everything that Councilmember Ewing said. I echo all of that. And also, I wanted to say thanks to our senior center, we were able to help a citizen get a wheelchair for their mother. I'm very grateful that they came through for them. Also, I attended the implicit bias webinar last week. It was excellent. And it was interesting to hear of the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Commission in Montlake Terrace. It sounds like they're having great success with that. Really, I know I've forgotten stuff, but I'm going to shut it up right now.
Okay, thank you. And then for
Lucky
myself, I attended SCIT this morning for most of the meeting, and I had to get over to the executive staff meeting where Peter Rogoff was talking about Sound Transit, of course, and what their focus is on. There was a kind of a robust discussion on mission creep and how that happens, and especially how it happened in the very beginning, where some of the cities are requesting things to be done by Sound Transit that are not necessarily in Sound Transit's best interest, but they've kind of blocked them doing things without them participating in what the city wants, such as the one city that got a new fire truck out of the whole thing. I thought that was kind of weird. And then I think that is it for tonight. Mr. Mayor, you have it back.
Great, good reports. Thanks, everybody. I don't have any major items to report. We've got a lot of little fires going on that we're working on, and good things going on in the city. We do have guest business tonight. We have Heather Thomas from the Health District, and she's going to provide us an update on the pandemic. Heather, your floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Give me just a second and I will share my screen. Hopefully everybody's seeing the main slide. Perfect. And you can hear me okay? All right. Well, thank you for having me. Again, I'm Heather Thomas, the Public and Government Affairs Manager at the Snohomish Health District, and we want to share a little bit about how the Health District is working on resiliency and recovery here in Snohomish County and for the residents and businesses of Lake Stevens. A little bit about what we accomplished in 2020 and then looking at the COVID response, some updates there as well. So in some non-COVID related news, last year, a lot of our focus was on helping to rebuild the agency. And that looks at how we can increase online service delivery. Obviously, the pandemic helped to move some of that along as we were looking at closing down offices to the public, like so many of you around the county, and also making investments in our IT infrastructure. Over the course of the year, there were some server issues and some IT switches that needed to be built up, and also looking at programs that can be brought back or brought up to current standards so that we can work more efficiently and work with more transparency for the community. There's also been a number of improvements done at the Rucker building. If you've been driving in downtown Everett, we did get a paint job on our building, and it has bright, fresh new colors. We are focused on getting some renovations to the building so that we can consolidate our staff down to the first floor and looking to lease out some of the space to bring in some additional revenue. And also looking at an increase in transparency and accountability. Moving forward, we're in the final stages of implementing ClearGov, which I know a number of cities and other government agencies have, so that people can see a little bit more about our budget and spending. So we're hoping to have that launched here soon. And public health does still continue, even with the pandemic. There were a number of food and restaurant inspections, particularly along with the pandemic, with the different phases and changes in guidance. There were a lot of questions on what's permitted, what was not permitted, some changes of ownership, or looking at outdoor seating and outdoor restaurants and open air requirements. And then a number of quite a few restaurants also looked at retooling and becoming either a temporary food business or a food truck. So there's a lot of guidance and information shared. The staff also followed up on complaints, anything from smoking in public places to food and pools, some solid waste and neighborhood concerns. The pools were open for a large part of the year, so that required a number of inspections and annual permits, and working with those businesses and vendors, also apartment homes and hotels, to make sure that they're following guidance on capacity and what was open and what was closed. And then of course, schools were a big partner of ours, working with them as they increased feeding capacity to students and families in their communities. A lot of them partnered with Boys and Girls Club and YMCA to offer childcare for essential workers. And then once schools got back up, helping to do inspections of their science facilities and kitchens. In Lake Stevens, that equated to about 140 annual food permits in the city. There were 4 temporary food inspections and 58 routine food inspections of businesses in your community. There were 45 complaints involving food establishments that our staff followed up on. Looking at childcare health outreach, so we work with all licensed providers to provide technical consultations. If they have any disease outbreaks or other concerns, they reach out to us. So there were 84 providers that received that consultation in Lake Stevens. And then we also provide some continuing education credit courses to providers, and 169 providers either in or from Lake Stevens took some of our courses. Outside of COVID, the Vaccine Preventable Disease Program performed at least 11 follow-up with Lake Stevens clinics. That's usually questions about storage and handling, entering in information, or other changes around vaccines that they need to be aware of. And we did support some Lake Stevens families that had babies at risk of hepatitis B. That means the mom was positive for hepatitis, and there's some increased monitoring and testing just to make sure that that's not passed on to the baby at birth. And there was at least one family, we can't give the exact number because of small numbers, but there was some assistance in Lake Stevens for that. And then this is COVID. 2,500 Lake Stevens residents were tested at one of our community-based testing events through the end of the year. Now on COVID, if you have not been to our website lately, we did a revamp last fall, early winter. That's at snowhd.org/COVID. And we are still building that out and adding some more information. But the most frequently visited pieces are towards the top. So our local case counts, those get updated Monday through Friday. And then we also have some more in-depth reports and maps that publish every 2 weeks. Our drive-through testing registration and information is available, general COVID information, and then of course, COVID vaccines are currently the most visited website. As I mentioned, every 2 weeks we publish maps. So these are the most recent ones that came out last week. This is the Cumulative Heat Map. So this shows the total number of cases over time through February 6th and where those are centered. This generally follows population based. So you see the large number of cases along the I-5 corridor, a little bit scattered out through Lake Stevens, Marysville, Arlington, and Monroe. But we also look at it at the zip code level. And this is the case rate for a 2-week period. So for those that follow our case rates that we publish every Monday through Saturday, February 20th, that 2-week case rate for the entire county dropped down again to 119 per 100,000. We also look at it by the zip code level. So people are wondering, amongst the number of cases that we're having, where are they popping up around the county? So you'll see the darker blue means you're having a higher concentration of the number of positive cases over 2 weeks within your population. We don't encourage people to make significant policy decisions. It's really just a status check of what's happening in the community. Looking ahead, we're continuing to work with all of our healthcare partners, long-term care facilities, and others on making sure that they have information they need for discharge. For a while, there was a backup with the number of long-term care outbreaks happening in the county, increased number of cases happening in the hospitals. And so that was leading to people trying to get discharged back into the long-term care facilities. We did send out a press release on Friday clarifying some guidance for long-term care facilities. They have a slightly different model than the roadmap to recovery on what's permissible in all of these different types of facilities. And a lot of that hinges on how many cases they've had within a 28-day period. So that has been dropping, but it relates to whether they can admit new patients, visitation, and other programming that they can have in their facility. We do still have cases, and our disease team and schools and childcare and employer team are still busy responding to those cases and contact investigations. And we are supporting schools, particularly as they are looking to ramp back up into hybrid and at some point fully in-person learning. We do have weekly calls with all of those school districts. We have a schools and childcare team that helps respond and partners with them on testing. And we're also working with them to match them up with either pharmacies or clinics in the community that when they become eligible for vaccines, they can help partner for some community clinics. And on the broader vaccine front, There is the Snohomish County Vaccine Task Force. It's partners such as the county, Department of Emergency Management, Public Health, Fire, and EMS that are all working to increase the capacity that we have in the county. We currently have quite a bit of capacity. It's the number of vaccines coming into Snohomish County and really Washington and across the country that are the biggest barrier. For this week, we are expected to receive about 31,000 doses for Snohomish County. About 10,000 of those are for first doses, and the remaining 20,000 are to get people fully vaccinated that are due for their second dose. We're also in the process of trying to pull together some race and ethnicity data, along with demographics on who's getting vaccinated in Snohomish County. The Washington State Department of Health released a report a week or two ago. We've received some of the data. They're working to clean it up. An example would be if a clinic provider entered Lake Stevens, they could do Lake Stevens in 2 words, or they could abbreviate Lake LK, or they could just write LS. So they have to write a code that matches all of that up to make sure where that information is coming from. But we hope to get that information out either later this week or early next week and start reporting on that on a monthly basis. We're also working with fire and EMS in our healthcare system and the county's Office of Social Justice to work on mobile and community-based vaccine clinics to go to underserved areas, working with partners to reserve some of those appointments at the mass vaccination sites or pre-register. And then our call center is also available for people that do not have internet access or may need translation services in order to make an appointment. And some in the near future, we'll also be moving to a new registration portal that will allow people to book both their first and second dose at the same time. That's currently in beta testing. They're going to be working with a couple mobile clinics focused on senior citizens to get some special clinics in the next week or two. And once they learn through that, then they'll be launching it on a broader scale soon. This is the data as of last week. We just updated it today. We've been updating on Tuesdays. So the total number of vaccines administered in Snohomish County today is actually around 120,000. That's about 95,000 that have received their first dose, and we're now at close to 30,000 in the county that are fully vaccinated. There was about 25 vaccines that were given last week in Snohomish County. You may have heard on the news that there was a number of delays across the nation in the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines getting shipped out because of winter weather across the country. And so many of those were delayed all of last week. We received one big shipment yesterday, and I believe the remainder should be trickling in over the course of the next day or so. But that does not impact the allocation for this week. So we'll receive both sets within the same week. So moving forward, again, our focus on our strategic plan that the Board of Health approved just before the pandemic started. So we'll be looking at our services and performance measures and how we are meeting and growing towards each of those items. This is our approved budget in 2021. It was a balanced budget. You'll see the bulk of our revenue comes from intergovernmental, that's state and local government, per capita cities such as yourselves, grants at the state and federal level. And then we do have license and permit fees and charges for service. Those are things like our vital records department. And then when you look at how those are expended out, they are largely staff driven. And so continuing to monitor those expenses. When we look at our 6-year forecast, you do see that blip in 2020. That is because of the COVID money coming into the health district. The board approved the 2021 budget absent of any CARES Act or additional dollars because nothing was committed at that time. So we do anticipate at least one, if not multiple, budget amendments for 2021 to show changes in the revenue and expenses because of COVID. But looking out a few years, you'll see that we're on relatively stable ground, but start to get to a point where our revenue our expenses are exceeding revenue in future years. So because of that, we are very closely monitoring COVID funding at the state and local level. Just last week, the governor signed the state's allocation of the federal money that was passed through Congress at the end of December. And so some of those dollars will be coming, also looking at other state and federal dollars coming our way, and the split between vaccine planning and administration, as well as ongoing disease control. Outside of COVID, we are looking at ways to increase revenue. As I mentioned, that inadequate total fund balance starting in about 2026. And so part of that is looking at renting out our Rucker buildings, a couple of the floors, to increase the revenue coming into the building. The Board of Health also approved a grants coordinator position, and I'm in final stages of doing reference checks. We hope to have somebody on board soon so that they can help look for identifying grant opportunities, helping to centralize the process at the health district and increase the capacity that we have to apply for those funds. And that ties into the Sound Foundation for Public Health. We're working to get that up and running. It provides an opportunity to seek funding that would be only eligible for 501c3 organizations. The foundation board members have been selected, so there are currently a slate of folks that are working to finalize all of their documents so that they can file with the Secretary of State and begin the process to get the 501c3 designation. They hope to have a lot of that done here soon. We've been working with our attorney and their legal counsel to finalize documents to have a memorandum of understanding that shows the public benefit of any contributions from the health district and what we get in return for funding. So we plan to report out on this as we move through. And last reminder is we have press releases and blogs and health alerts that go out. People are welcome to apply or to subscribe for when they come out, and to follow us on social media. We have a number of pieces that go out daily, particularly around COVID. And so encourage people to like, follow, or share our content. And with that, Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions.
Excellent, excellent job, Heather. Well done in front of your big boss. I think you did well. Kudos, and good write-ups for her, please, Sean. Do we have any questions for Heather?
Mayor, Councilmember Dickinson has her hand up. I didn't know if you could see it.
Okay, there you go, Mary.
I did my hand. Yeah. So Heather, I was down at the one of the elementary schools today, and I was struck at all the cars waiting in line, and it made me say, I hope we're going to get vaccinations for teachers ASAP. They really need to be in there. And this comes from a senior who's very fortunate that I got both my vaccines already, but I really worry about our teachers. So I just thought I would say that. Do you have is there any way that I know it's not up to you, but can you say something to somebody like the governor or somebody?
I could. However, this has been set at a state level, as you noted. There are some teachers who have been vaccinated and school staff. So currently, those that are over the age of 60 or that are 50 and live in a multi-generational setting. But there's also some broader pieces. So any school nurses or staff that work in healthcare settings or with special ed kiddos have, they are included and can get vaccinated. So we know that there have been some happening. And then as we prepare to the next phase is where teachers start to become eligible. And so our have been matching them up with pharmacies and with clinics so that they can prepare to have vaccination clinics right out the gate as soon as we move to phase 1B2. And I know the state has also been working with Kaiser, which we have a location here in Snohomish County, to try to increase that capacity. But right now it's really been just the limited supply and the demand of people that are in line for the vaccine. So, we've given over 120 doses. So over 90,000 people have at least had their first dose, but we anticipate there's another 80 to 100,000 people that are currently eligible that haven't been able to get their vaccine. So if we added teachers, that would just extend the line with 10,000 first doses coming here into Snohomish County. But I think
understand.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. Our supply is definitely increasing. It's gotten quite a bit bigger over the last couple of weeks. And we're also anxiously awaiting Johnson & Johnson. I believe they have an FDA panel on the 26th. And so we anticipate an emergency use authorization for them and those doses coming out shortly thereafter. So we're getting close.
Thank you, Heather.
Sure.
Any other questions for Heather? All right, seeing none. Heather, great job. You only had one question. Very well done.
Great. Thank you all for having me. Have a great night.
All right, we'll move on to city reports, and I've been told there are no director reports, so we'll move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to pass the consent agenda, please?
We'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pass the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And motion passes for the consent agenda. Let's move on to the first next item, which is L, which is the 2021 comprehensive plan docket. David, you are up.
All right, thank you, Mayor Gailey. Council members, David Levitan, Senior Planner, and we are here tonight for the council to consider ratification of the 2021 Comprehensive Plan Docket. If you'll remember, city staff briefed the council 2 weeks ago, introduced the proposed docket, which is included within the staff report and further analyzed in Exhibit A to proposed resolution 2021-04. It is 7 text amendments and 2 minor map amendments. Just a little bit of an overview before we get on to additional actions. The city and other cities within Washington are able to amend their comprehensive plan once per year through a docketing process. The city council is being asked tonight to adopt resolution 2021-04 based on the recommendation from the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission held their required public hearing last Wednesday, February 17th, where they unanimously recommended ratification of the 2021 docket. And so as far as this evening, I'm happy to answer any questions related to any of the individual items. At your February 9th meeting, there were no proposed additions from the City Council, so we moved forward accordingly with the Planning Commission public hearing. And we are here tonight to request that the Council approve Resolution 2021-04, thereby ratifying the 2021 Comprehensive Plan Docket. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, with that, I'll also open this public hearing on the 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket. You've heard the staff report. Are there any questions for staff? No questions from staff. So with that, we'll go ahead and open for public comments from the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who has comments on the 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket? If so, please raise your hand and you'll be recognized. Second call for comments on the 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket from citizens. If so, raise your hand, please. Seeing no raised hands. You see any raised hands, City Clerk?
Nope, I do not, Mayor.
Nobody's waiting in the waiting room.
No waiting room.
Okay, perfect. So with that, we'll go ahead and close the public comments portion of the hearing. And we'll move to David. Do you have any further comments?
I don't. I would just note that all of the ratification criteria are addressed in Exhibit A of Attachment 1, which is the proposed resolution, so that staff has concluded that the proposed amendments meet all of the ratification criteria.
Okay. Any other further questions of staff? And any discussion, deliberation between council members? Everybody's awake still. Good to see. I see eyes open. Good. And with that, I'll close the public hearing and then I'll ask for council action at this point.
Mr. Mayor, I have moved to approve Resolution 2021-04, setting the 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket.
Second.
If I could have you correct that, it's not a resolution 2021, it's 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket. It's not an actual resolution number.
Or the red, okay, I was reading it, so.
Oh, is it in there as a
Mayor,
resolution?
It is an adopting resolution.
Say again?
It is an adopting resolution to set the docket 2021-04.
it's 2021-04, adopting the 2021 docket.
All right.
That's what I said.
I sit corrected.
Whether I said it or not, that's what I said.
And I had a second from Councilmember Frederick.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we have a 2021 Comprehensive Plan docket passed. So with that, let's move on to action item M, which is ordinance 1094 to annex the Machias Industrial Area. Russ.
Okay, thank you, Council. I'll keep this one fairly brief. Machias annexation, some property owners in that area came to the city in 2017 to initiate an annexation. It took them a little while to get some steam through their neighborhood. Eventually they did. They got up to the 60% ratification. City Council has held a couple of hearings on this, and there wasn't any public outcry or comments at those meetings. It's gone through the boundary review process. At this time, Snohomish County has supported this project. So with that, asking for council's action tonight to annex this 66 area in the Machias area into the city of Lake Stevens.
Okay, so with that, do I have a motion on this action item?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1094.
Second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion to pass ordinance 1094 and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, I'll move for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And we'll move to action item N, which is resolution 2021-03 fees. Russ, you're up again.
Okay, thank you. Every year at the beginning of the year, we go through a fees resolution update. There are a few minor updates that we wanted to bring to the council this year. First being updating the school impact fees for both the Lake Stevens School District, and pending the annexation in the southeast area, will also be incurring school fees for the Snohomish School District. So those are added to the fees resolution. The building permit fees, the references have changed to the current code cycle. So there's some language added, not changing fees, just changing the description of those fees. And then the community facility fees, that section has been updated. Last year, council went through a process where we looked at an entire package for the mill and policies related to that. And this just activates all of those fees by resolution. And it also addresses some of the questions council had about how are we treating nonprofits. And so proposed in this fees resolution is a basic discount for nonprofits, and then also an additional nonprofit discount during non-peak hours and months for the mills rentals. And then finally, as we're bringing on new park rental shelters and the dock at North Cove Park, we've adjusted all of our park shelter rentals so they're all consistent and all included in this document. happy to take any questions from the council.
So I do have one question, Russ, about the nonprofits. Did that, I don't know that it would include the library. I know the library had wanted to use the mill for things. Maybe they won't need it now once we get into the police station. But for the moment, what about the library? Would they be a nonprofit? How would they qualify?
The policy for the library was a little bit different, and I believe the council had agreed to look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
For example, earlier this year, we had an agreement with the library that they were going to be able to use it for their summer reading program. Last year, obviously, that didn't occur. So moving forward, if they need more space for a program like that, this would also be an opportunity for them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for us? Okay, with that, can I entertain a motion?
Hold on a minute, I had a question.
Councilman Daughtry.
So you mentioned docks. What was the docks? I don't see that in here.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I meant to say deck. The new overlook deck is going to be rentable at North Cove Park.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion on this?
Move to approve resolution 2021-03.
Second.
You have a motion to approve resolution 2021-03, and I have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, resolution passes. Perfect. We will move to executive session. So council members and those going to executive session, remember that you close down out of this Zoom meeting and you go into your Teams meeting that will get you to the executive session. For audience members, we are going to executive session on two different subjects. One is potential litigation or litigation. The second is action, or both from our potential litigation or litigation. And we may have action to follow on both.
Yeah, collective bargaining and potential litigation.
Oh, collective bargaining, correct. That's right. Collective bargaining, potential litigation, and we may have action to follow on both of those items. So,
Mayor and Kelly, I don't see a Teams invite.
Okay, I sent it out earlier today, but I'm happy to forward it again.
Okay, maybe I was looking too far back. Thank you.
and you might look on your calendar because it probably will populate on your calendar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and we're looking 20 minutes total. Okay, let's go 20 minutes. Let's see you all on Teams.
Thanks, guys. Angie, did you find it? Or Councilmember Jurstad, did you find it?
I did. Thank you very much.
Okay, good.
No worries.
You guys are done? Councilmember Daughtry?
Just as I hit leave, one of the councilmen asked a question, so they'll be back in a minute.
Okay, sounds good. You got through the second topic as well?
Yes,
Okay.
both topics.
Great. Councilmember Ewing, are they done? Or are you going back in? Oh.
There's more going on, Kelly.
Okay, thanks. All right, thank you for your patience. The council has requested an additional 5 minutes.
All right, Kelly, we're coming back.
Great, thank you. Just working on getting everybody back in.
All right, we got all 7 council members back, it looks like.
Yep.
All right, so with that, can I get a motion on the contract collective bargaining issue?
I move for the mayor to move forward with signing the MOU under the collective bargaining issue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. The motion is to authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding under the collective bargaining issue. And I have a second. So with that, any discussion on that motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And the second subject of litigation, can I get a motion on that?
Regarding the property.
Regarding the property, correct.
So I'll move to approve the abatement of residence 3017 101st Avenue Northeast, Lake Stevens, Washington 98258. And yeah.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Say again,
Councilmember-
Kenny?
I just want to make sure that was Gary. I'm sorry, Peter Shagan.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, perfect. Both motions pass. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And anybody opposed to adjournment? Excellent. So we have an adjournment. I appreciate everybody's work tonight and during the week. Get out and make sure you serve somebody that you don't know this week. Have a super evening. Take care.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.